For 3 months, I learned how to breathe on my own again. I took the shattered pieces of the woman he'd left behind and started to build something new, something stronger. I was finally, for the first time in a long, long time, starting to feel safe in my own skin. The silence he left behind wasn't an absence anymore. It had become a space for healing. And then my phone buzzed. It was a name I'd deleted but had never, ever forgotten. 3 words flashed on the screen. I miss you. And just like that, with one simple text, he tried to burn my whole world down all over again. 1. The disappearance. To really get why his return was so devastating, you have to know how things were before he left. Our life together wasn't some big public romance. On the surface, it was comfortable, but it was always hidden from view. We had a rhythm, true passion, what I thought was love. Sadly, he always made me feel like I was his last resort, a secret he kept while he was always looking for a better option. We knew each other's life story and what pushed our buttons, but he never wanted to tell people he was with me. Life felt like it was built on a million tiny certain things, but only behind closed doors. And then one Tuesday, all that certainty just stopped. It started with a text that went unanswered. "See you tonight?" I sent it without even thinking. But tonight came and went. By the next morning, I was calling, and the calls went straight to voicemail. That first night, I barely slept, my mind flipping through a list of excuses. His phone died, he was hurt, something terrible must have happened. Honestly, any explanation was better than the one my gut was screaming at me. The next day, the silence was deafening. There was no one I could call. Because he'd hidden me from everyone, I had no friends of his to check on him with, and that wasn't my style anyway. I was completely isolated in my panic. It was like he'd been plucked off the face of the earth, but only from my world. That's when the dread set in, a cold, sharp realization that stole the air from my lungs. He hadn't fallen off the grid. He had chosen to vanish from my life, and he took our entire secret reality with him. He didn't just leave me. He erased me. The downward spiral and the ashes. Being ghosted by a narcissist isn't just a breakup. It's a calculated erasure. It's designed to make you question your own reality and worth. For anyone who's been there, you know that silence is so much louder and more punishing than any angry word. It's a form of emotional abuse designed to maintain control even in their absence, leaving you rejected, abandoned, and drowning in self-blame. My world didn't just break, it imploded. His disappearance didn't just break my heart, it woke up every single ghost from my past. This wasn't just about a boyfriend leaving. It felt exactly like my father walking out when I was a kid. It was the echo of every relationship that ended suddenly, hammering home this deep-seated fear that I was just meant to be left. That's what an abandonment wound does. It freezes you in that old pain, and any new heartbreak just triggers the original trauma all over again. I fell into depression. The temptation to start drinking again to numb the pain was a constant screaming voice in my head. I wasn't just fighting the loss of him, I was fighting the loss of myself. The rejection was soul-crushing. It's not just a feeling either. Science shows that the emotional pain from being rejected like that lights up the same parts of your brain as a physical injury. My heart didn't just feel broken, my brain was processing it like a literal wound. For 2 weeks, I was a ghost in my own life. I'd spend hours replaying every conversation, every text, searching for the one clue I must have missed. That lack of closure is a special kind of torture. It leaves your mind spinning, trying to figure out what you did wrong. I blame myself completely, convinced I wasn't even worthy of a goodbye. 3. Rebuilding and the first glimmer of hope. After those 2 weeks of living in that grey, suffocating fog, something inside me just snapped. I looked in the mirror one morning and didn't even recognize the hollowed-out woman staring back at me. I saw someone whose entire identity was defined by a man's absence, and I was just so done letting a ghost write my story. It wasn't some big movie-like transformation. It was a slow, painful crawl back to being alive. It started with finally deleting his number and packing up his things. It was calling a family member and talking this shit through without feeling ashamed. It was forcing myself to just go for a walk, even when my bed felt like the only safe place on earth. I was slowly learning that healing is really just an act of being kind to yourself. I started reconnecting with friends I'd accidentally pushed away. I signed up for an online class, something that was just for me, and I found this weird, grounding peace in shaping a new thing out of a lump of clay. I was rebuilding piece by piece. I was learning how to comfort myself, how to set boundaries, and how to fight back against the negative voice in my head that his silence had made so loud. Slowly, real laughter started to come back. The constant ache in my chest began to fade. I was learning to live in the quiet, not as a lonely space, but as a peaceful one. For the first time, I was building a sense of self-worth that had nothing to do with anyone else's approval. 4. The reappearance and the confrontation, and then after 92 days, my phone buzzed. "I miss you. This and that happened, and now I'm okay. See you tonight." The message sent a jolt through me, a chaotic mix of hope and heartbreak that felt like a firework going off in my chest. A part of me, the wounded part that was starving for answers, wanted to type back immediately. But the woman I had spent 3 months building wouldn't let me. I just paused. I breathed. I let the storm of feelings pass, and I realized I had a choice. I knew that narcissists often come back. It's called hoovering, a tactic they use for selfish reasons. Boredom, a need for attention, or just to check if they still have access to you. They want to see if the door is still unlocked, usually without any plan to take responsibility for the hell they put you through. I decided if I was going to respond, it would be on my terms. Not for him. For me. I needed to close this chapter for good. I agreed to meet him for coffee. When he walked in, he looked smaller than I remembered. He launched into a series of vague, empty excuses, all centered on himself. He was overwhelmed, he was going through things. He didn't know how to talk about it. He said he thought it was just easier to disappear, as if his convenience was the only factor that mattered. It was like he had no capacity to understand that his version of easier had been my version of hell. I let him finish. The old me would have cried. She would have yelled. She would have begged for an apology she thought could fix everything. But the new me, she just listened. And then I spoke. Calmly, clearly, without my voice shaking. "I'm not here for your reasons," I said. "You treated me like I was disposable. You kept me a secret and made me question my own worth. You let me spend weeks agonizing, wondering if you were okay, all while you were just avoiding a hard conversation. The pain you caused was real and it was deep. I spent months grieving a man who was still alive and rebuilding a life that you shattered without a second thought." I told him about the fight to find myself again. I let him know the real-world impact of his actions. I wasn't looking for a reaction. I was just stating the facts of the damage he left behind. He just sat there, stunned into silence. For the first time, it looked like he actually understood. He started to apologize, saying he'd made a mistake, that he wanted to try again. But his words didn't matter anymore. I realized in that moment that his return wasn't a second chance for us. I had to let him go. It was a test of the self-worth I had fought so damn hard to build. And I passed. The closure I had been so desperate for wasn't going to come from him. It had to come from me. It was me, realizing I deserved so much more than being a man's secret, his last resort, an easy option. I stood up, thanked him for the coffee, and walked away, and for the first time in my life, walking away from someone didn't feel like being abandoned. It felt like coming home to myself. His silence almost destroyed me. But in the end, it was my own voice that saved me. If you've ever found yourself sitting across from someone who once made you feel invisible, wondering whether to stay quiet or speak your truth, know this: you are not alone. Walking away doesn't mean failure. It can be the most powerful act of self-respect. If their silence left you questioning your worth, let your voice be the answer. You don't need their permission to heal. You don't need their apology to begin again. You deserve to feel safe in your own skin. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself. If you've ever been made to feel invisible, if you've ever been erased by someone's silence, Share your story in the comments. Check out my links below in the description for more help with toxic love. Watch my previous videos and don't forget to like, subscribe and support me as I support you on your journey. Thank you.